I'm Cathy Boxall. I head up the global entertainment team at Dentsu. I'm joined by a very illustrious panel today of incredible experts in their field with years and years of experience. So hopefully we can give you some really good insights. I thought I would just quickly set the scene a little bit about entertainment and brand-funded entertainment and why it's so important at the moment. We all know that consumers are continuing to demand more and more entertainment. Our friends at Netflix, our friends at Amazon will attain to this. There's an enormous consumer demand, but it's a challenging marketplace for producers, for platforms. There's a lot of competition at the moment. And as brands, we're obviously also trying to tell stories, and our clients across Dentsu are trying to tell authentic stories that speak to new audiences, to young audiences, and try and connect with those consumers in a different way and in an authentic way. And this is why I think we all believe very strongly that the time is now for brand entertainment. And this is really, it's a pinch point in the industry that brands can really take advantage of. So we're very excited to talk to you about it. I will quickly intro the panel today. So we have, actually I'll do it in no particular order, but we have right next to me, Kimberly Dobereiner.
Hello.
It's the head of P&G Studios, the in-house team who are producing a whole range of incredible content from podcasts, series, incredible stuff. And we're going to talk about a few examples today. We also have Greg Nugent, who
Hello.
is our wonderful partner from our producers, Harder Than You Think, and we'll talk about the projects that Greg's working on at the moment and some future projects. He's also an amazing brand marketeer and has a fantastic perspective. He was the CMO of London 2012. He was the marketing director at Eurostar for many years. So he really does understand the brand perspective, and he will talk about that as well. And last but not least, by any means, the wonderful Geneva Wasserman, who is our EVP of Film and TV Development and Financing, based out in LA, here at Dentsu. Huge champion for brand entertainment, very experienced producer as well. So she's looking at this from both sides.
Thank you, Cathy.
So, okay, no problem. So, to kick us off, I thought we're going to talk a bit about some of the projects that Kimberly and Greg and Geneva and the team have been collaborating on. So we have a little video, a very quick video, just to give a little bit of context on the project Rising Phoenix, which is following the stories of Paralympians as they train, as they compete, like incredible, emotional, moving stories. We're going to speak specifically about a project we're working on around Paris, but it's an ongoing project, as you will see. So should we just quickly play you a little bit of content? Hopefully this works.
My name was Rising Phoenix because the phoenix can live and die and burn and then live again.
If you only see the Paralympic Games, you will see the wins and you will see the losses, but you will not see the process. There is no wins without struggles on the way.
It's a lot harder than it seems. Oh my God, oh my God.
In mass media with disability wasn't really there. No one really talked about disabilities.
Je m'accorde le droit de rêver et de me dire que peut-être qu'après ces Jeux, le regard des gens va vraiment changer pour les gens comme nous.
Welcome everybody. My name is Matt Stutzman. I'm a 4-time Paralympian and silver medalist.
And I'm 4-time Olympic gold medalist Michael Johnson.
Welcome to our podcast, Rising Phoenix. What does it take?
We have the opportunity to fundamentally change the way our country views disability.
Fantastic. Amazing.
Thank you.
So we'll talk a bit more about Rising Phoenix specifically, but I was going to kick us off with a incredibly simple question that probably has a very, very complicated answer. And the question is, what is brand-funded entertainment? What does it mean to you guys? How do you differentiate it from other marketing channels and what you do when you're working on your brand comms? I'm going to send that to Kimberly. Do you want to kick us off?
Hi, everybody. First, I want to actually erase the name brand-funded entertainment. Because when it comes with brand-funded entertainment, for some reason, it's decided to not be any good and decided to be about advertising or about a brand. And that's not what we're doing. We're creating amazing stories that meet consumers where they are with more interesting content that's more insightful, and then connecting our brands in authentic, meaningful ways to these consumers. That's what we're trying to do. And we want to create content that distributors want to buy, not that we pay distributors to take. Like, we really want to change the model. This isn't for everything, but this is for these stories that matter. And I think we can make that happen. So I'll give a quick example. It's with the Dentsu Entertainment Partnership, which has been a tremendous partner for P&G Studios. Geneva, you're outstanding.
Thank you.
We have a very active project we're selling right now called The Winning Spirit. And this is all around a David and Goliath story of a football team in Kahuku, Hawaii. And it's about the power of the Polynesian culture and its influence and effect on football. They are 40x represented in football. Why? What is that winning spirit that's about the Polynesian culture? So we have this amazing David and Goliath story. And then we brought on Tua, the all-pro quarterback from Miami Dolphins, who's a part of this, sharing his story, his unusual rise. And by the way, he was with the Goliath team and beat the David team in our story. So it's going to be a fascinating story. It's a documentary series. It's really, really powerful. So it's just an example of how we can make a story worth telling. It also happens to be connected to Gillette, because Gillette cares about male role models. They see the power of sport with male role models, with young men, and how that works. So it's a really important story that has a brand that wants to back, promote it, and support it.
Fantastic. It's amazing. And Geneva, I mean, from your point of view, brand-funded entertainment?
I agree with Kimberly. I never call it brand-funded entertainment because we don't look at any other entertainment and ask who funded it. Brands are excellent storytellers. In fact, P&G, in my opinion, we can thank for radio and television in general. And when you look at brands and you look at how Hollywood functioned for 50 years, brands were behind it. Brands funded it, but in a different way. And so, to me, we're just all storytellers, and we're financing content, and Dentsu is as well. We also finance and co-finance with wonderful partners like Kimberly at P&G. And I think that the narrative needs to shift because good storytelling that is entertainment first, that is relevant, that is has an audience that we can connect to, it's just entertainment.
It is. It's all entertainment first. Yeah, and you're right. It doesn't matter who's funding it.
Yep.
Okay, so that's our perspective. I mean, Geneva, you've got a double hat, obviously, because you produce and you're part of Dentsu Entertainment. But I think I mentioned up front, it is an interesting time in the industry at the moment, in the entertainment business. There's a lot of change, there's a lot of disruption, and it is creating challenges for brand marketeers, and we hear that all the time, but it's also, we think, creating opportunity. And I'd be interested to hear, Greg, from your perspective as a producer, why do you think that that is an opportunity for brands, and what is the opportunity right now?
I think it's vast, actually, and I think now is an amazing time to do this. I don't think it's just now, but this has been happening for a century. I think often my view is there's a misconception, a pretension sometimes, that brands and entertainment cannot mix, and it's wrong. It's in history, it's wrong. So in 2007, 8, I was in charge of helping Eurostar move from Waterloo to St Pancras. And Mother Advertising had this amazing idea, which was to make a film, and it was going to be a 3-minute film. And somebody told me that no railway had ever been built without a film in British kind of history. So I was like, got to make a film. And we made a film, and we did something really silly, is we gave it to a incredible storyteller called Shane Meadows, who's a genius. And Shane shot 47 hours of film.
Wow.
For a 3-minute film. And
Wow.
This film became known as Somerstown. It won the Tribeca Best Film. The actors at Tribeca, the young actors, Tomo, they won. It won the Michael Powell Award. And I never forget being asked to turn up at the BBC and defend Eurostar's involvement in the film. And I was like, what have we done wrong? We've done nothing wrong. There's no product placement in there. It's just breathtaking storytelling. And I think the misconception in the industry is that brands don't know how to do this, and I think they do. So in terms of why now, what I think is over the last decade or so, maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, more people would say to me, you can't do that, Greg. So we started Rising Phoenix, and people would say, you can't do that. They won't let you. The lawyers won't let you. And those walls have come down, right? What I think is when you trade and deal with Netflix, they're an impeccable storytelling business. When you talk to Disney, ByteDance, or TikTok, like these brands want to help tell stories. And so the most interesting thing about now, because there's such a dynamic competitive industry, those kind of barriers have been removed. And what I think it allows is this fierce creativity to take over. And if you've got a good idea, and if the brands understand perfectly where they sit, it'll work.
Fantastic. And Geneva, did you have anything from your side, too?
Yeah, I loved everything Greg said. I would say that, looking at brands as sort of being outsiders is completely wrong. Because in the ecosystem of content, you're producing content, you're distributing content, and you're marketing content. And so having a brand as a partner has been phenomenal for us because, first of all, P&G, there's no one better in terms of, or bigger. But everyone's great. But in terms of amplifying the content, finding the content, what's different now from when I started my career in the 90s is that we have more places to watch. We have more engagement than ever. We have more content than ever. And so working with a brand partner is such a benefit because you have that opportunity to have storytelling, entertainment first, entertainment led, and then amplify it and promote it in a way that we've never seen before. So to me, everything that Greg said, mirror 100%. And, from a producing point of view, having produced outside of Dentsu, it's been a dream because, again, Kimberly is at P&G, but she's a storyteller. She's a producer. And I don't really understand sort of the distinction between, this is brand funded or this is branded content. Because you look at the Cost of Winning, which you produced before I joined Dentsu, that's Emmy nominated. It's just excellent content.
Can I give one other example?
Please do.
On the brand side, we had one that we just announced. It's just a great example of a brand getting behind a film. And this is A Radical Act by Renee Montgomery. So we're going to tell Renee Montgomery's story. We've already made it. Roku has just picked it up. It's going to be aired in October. It's a fascinating story. Our partner was Uninterrupted, which is a great producing partner. But Mael, our female-owned black hair care brand, is coming along with us. They also happen to be the sponsor of the national hair texture for the WNBA. So you have a brand that's such a great fit, right? It's who they want to serve. It's the audience they want to reach. It's a story that needs to be told. And the brand wants to come around it. And now we have a distributor who wants to help support it. That's the kind of win-win-win that we can create more of.
It's great. Yep. And I think this is it. We talked about this a bit in a panel yesterday. But all of these opportunities, brands as storytellers, the change that's going on in the industry, all of that. I mean, the message that we had for anybody who was kind of thinking about doing this, you said this, Greg, this is your term, but the doors are open now for brands. Like it's a completely different conversation to what it would have been, I don't know, even 18 months ago, 2 years ago. Like it's an incredible opportunity.
And I think if I can add to that, it is starting a conversation. So why would a brand want to produce a film or a TV show? It's starting a conversation. It's building an emotional connection with their audience. And it's not taking away from advertising. Advertising still is necessary. It exists. It's just giving another layer of relevancy and conversation.
The thing I always use is that scene in Wayne's World. Everyone remember? Where they kind of do the sponsor bit for about 1.5 minutes, sponsored by... It's a brilliant... That's exactly what we hate in storytelling. And the truth is, it's so rare when it happens, but it does happen. And I feel the danger is we think the whole opportunity is defined by how it's done badly, but it's done exquisitely well. And when it is done exquisitely well, these stories are more incredible. So we can kind of see the extreme. The reason I think the doors are open is because the market's in complete flux. No one knows what it will look like in 5 years' time, but the story will be the story in 5 years' time. And that's why I think... more gates are open than ever, more doors are open
Yeah.
for these conversations.
Yeah, it's a really exciting time to be doing this. So we've got the dream team on stage, and we've got a range of amazing experts and expertise. And I think a project like Rising Phoenix or The Winning Spirit or any of the shows and films that our teams have been working on is not possible unless you can kind of put together one of these kind of teams with all kinds of different but very specialist expertise. So I suppose my next question was the power of partners and the role of partners with it. When you're looking at creating a project like this, how do you go about picking your partners? What kind of partners do you need in order to help you identify these projects, evaluate these projects, and deliver them? And I suppose, Kimberly, that would be one for you?
I can start there, and I'm going to give an unbiased plug, or a totally biased plug. Working with the Dentsu Entertainment team, I mean, what I love about the partnership is the expertise, knowledge, connection, and understanding of the industry. I don't know this industry like they know this industry. It is easy to fall into a pitfall, make a mistake, not understand what you're getting into when you don't have people next to you and beside you and on your team who are helping you. And so it is absolutely critical to have people who have done this before. I'll call the 10,000 hours. I'm not a 10,000 hours person in entertainment. I need someone with me who's got the 10,000 hours. That's what Geneva has. That's what Cathy has. And that's what Greg has when we take a look at a project like Rising Phoenix and working in this space. I mean, you've been a Paralympic champion for a decade almost.
Sadly, more.
Right? More. So like we need to partner up with people so that if you're coming in here and you haven't done it before, you're not sure, go with the people who have 10,000 hours, not the people who are just starting.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Forgive me, but I agree.
partner perspective.
I'm lucky to be able to turn to these two, and it happened a few weeks ago where we have a call, and I think I know how this is going to go because something's happening, and I'm not sure. And we present two options on what we're thinking, and Kimberly says it could be either of them, but there's another option, and we hadn't spotted it. And so I think the other thing is producers sometimes will race for the money because you just want to make stuff, but actually that advice and experience in that moment from considerable people like these two and the organisations they represent, that actually means more than the money. I know the money's hard, but actually having the talent on the team is the thing.
Well, and I think looking at partners is more than money. You know, I can't tell you how many times people will hear I work at Dentsu and they'll say, "Great, write me a check." And it's like, well, okay, wait, you know, we're strategists.
That's what they say to us.
They say that to all the brands.
They say that to us. For us and also for brands, all of our brand clients, and that's not what we do. It's strategy-led, it's story-led, it's auspice-led. We partner. When I think of partners, I think of our amazing partners, like on the stage, but also, you know, Greg is, I consider you like an auspice, right? He's like a filmmaker. The filmmaker talent is so essential, right? And turning the right storytellers. And we guide that and we help that. We work with strategy. Our team, we're experts in intellectual property and protection, exploitation. We're franchise experts. So everything we're looking at, we're thinking about in the scheme of the entire potential of what something could be. And we're not just thinking about it of, okay, this should be a film, right? When we're thinking about Rising Phoenix, this is a franchise, right? This started with Japan, and now it's going to Paris, and it'll next go to Los Angeles. And it's for us, you know, because we're also, you know, producing and investing, this is really strategic, and it's a story that should be told. So relevancy cannot be, you know, overstated. And I think that that's also part of the partnership consideration, is creating something that connects to audiences, the right audiences, and is relevant, right? Is necessary almost. Which is silly to say from somebody that's producing Angry Birds 3, but I think it's very relevant and necessary. And I can explain that offline.
There's nothing that's not relevant about Angry Birds 3. Very, very relevant for everybody.
Anyone interested in Angry Birds 3?
We said we weren't going to hijack this panel, but we've done it.
I did it by mistake. It was not on purpose.
Fantastic. Okay. So I did have one question. We've talked a lot about Rising Phoenix. We haven't really dug into what it is and kind of how it came about. And it is an amazing project, and it does have a fantastic story. I suppose a question for you, Greg. can you just give us a sort of top line on what Rising Phoenix is, what's happening with the Paris project, why this is so important? And I think also we've talked a bit about representation, but the importance of representation in front of the camera and behind the camera.
A top line.
That's all of it.
So I was very lucky. Once upon a time, I was the CMO of London 2012. Somebody in Paris right now is the CMO of Paris. By the way, they're not sleeping right now. They have not slept for a year, and they will not sleep for another 4 months. I found the Olympic story great. It's privilege, you know. Usain Bolt, big story. Everybody knows the Olympic story. I arrived, and my boss said, as he would have said in his way, he said the Olympics looks hard work but doable. The Paralympics looks impossible because we've got 3.1 million tickets to sell. He said, I'm not sure anyone's ever sold one. And that was true. So what we had to do was think about how London could become the first sellout games. Really important. In focus groups, we'd say, if the Olympics is a gold, where is the Paralympics? And more often than not, with 2 years to go, they'd say bronze, if you're lucky. And we said they're both going to be gold. The Paralympics will be as good as the Olympics. And we achieved that. And Paris, my hope is that they go on and smash it and redefine it again. We thought we'd done the job, but what we learned in Rio, because in Rio they tried to cancel the Paralympic Games, and I was on a call listening as a diplomat, advising, and somebody from somewhere said, we're going to cancel it because it's only for disabled people. And my head flares up and thinks, why did we do all that in London, but it didn't catch on globally? And at that moment, I decided I wanted to make the film Rising Phoenix. That became a Netflix sensation. I think one of the best docs they've ever done. As you were doing that, I caught more of the bug again and thought, why don't we just do this all the way to LA? And so we went back to the IPC, the International Paralympic Committee, unbelievable creative partner in this. And I said, we'll take all the risk, but we want to tell your story all the way through to LA. I don't know how it's going to happen. It might not happen, but we'll give it a go. And we've now been very lucky. We made our first film. It was unbelievably successful. Thanks to Kimberly and the team and Laura, we made an amazing podcast in 21 called Equal To. We then went to Tokyo through COVID and took this mad decision to film Tokyo. It will come out this summer. It's unbelievable. We then said Paris needs to be about the issues. So we've done the athletes, we've done the origins. This is complex. Disability is complex. I'm not disabled, but I'm making a project that has to represent people that are, and they must feel that we're doing it in the right way. So Paris is going to be a big, beautiful conversation about how much the world can change and what needs to change. And then as we go to LA, again, no idea how we do this, but we will do it, is we're going to build an episodic story. And Andrew Parsons, the president of the International Paralympic Committee, said, this is a drive to survive that will change the world. So now, as you saw, we managed to convince Michael Johnson to be part of our work. We've got Matt Stutzman, you know, like, we're building an unbelievable assembly of people to help us do this. And what I get more and more is there is a real sense of wanting to be part of this. Brands, broadcasters, distributors, just people. And listen, if you can help, we'd love your help, because I think we're building something pretty special. Sorry, that is the top line. I could go on.
That is
Well,
great.
I would
build on
say,
the one
I would say that the representation, though, maybe you can touch on that, because I think it's remarkable. This film is not only beautifully shot, gorgeous, incredibly compelling, but who's making it is also a story.
Yeah, so first film, there are no guidelines in the world as filmmakers as to tell you what representation numbers you should try and hit. That's sad. So you have to set your own targets. Our company is called Harder Than You Think. We try and set them to be pretty high. On our first film, we hit 16%, 1/6 of the crew behind the camera identified as disabled. And BAFTA said they thought it was the best thing that had happened in terms of disability representation. More to come. Our podcast in 2021 with Laura and Kimberly, 62% of the team that worked on that were disabled. Our Tokyo film, which was through COVID, we went down to 25. It's harder in film. I'm delighted to say that we know now that we've hit 50% disabled representation in the Paris film, and we'll keep 50% all the way to LA. And I'm also delighted to say for the first time we've managed to work with a very coveted, extremely ambitious and brilliant director who identifies as disabled. So this project is for all the talent, but for me, you know, like, it's all right sitting there saying we're going to tell a story about X, and actually not involving the community feels like the most ridiculous thing you could do. So thank you. It's a very important part.
Fantastic.
And And I just want to say, when the activists or athletes or actors were being interviewed and found out the crew was 50% disabled, like, it was emotional. It was powerful. They're like, what, there's just you and me, right? You, the director, okay, you're disabled, but it's just us. And he was like, no, it's not just us. So if you want to see that behind the scenes clip, come see us on Friday. I'll be with Greg and Sheridan, the director, and Ezra, one of our Paralympians. We're going to be talking over in the Palais. So just a small plug for another panel. But you're going to get a behind-the-scenes look at the making of this, and I think it'll blow your mind.
It's really exciting. And just also, I mean, from your perspective, obviously it is a fantastic project and it's really important. What was it specifically about this that kind of drew you into the project? What was the appeal from a brand perspective?
Yeah, so I think this starts with the fact that P&G has been an Olympic supporter. We've been a sponsor for a long time. Paralympics are really important. People with disabilities is very important to us as a company. We've got to start internal with our employees. We've got to start internal with what we're doing. But we also wanted to say, how do we do something? I mean, Ezra talks really well about how do the Paralympics become a platform that helps create the step change, that helps create the conversation, that helps create the change. And so that was important to us too. And Laura Imes, who leads our Olympic team, her insight into doing the podcast and leading into this was super, super important. So this is about us leaning in, talking with this community, starting to support this community, starting to help show up, create representation for this community, and we're just getting started.
It's wonderful. It's great. You say you're just getting started, but you've been doing this a long time and very successfully. And I would say of all the brands we work with, you've probably had the most success in this space. I was going to ask a question that I hope is sort of on everybody's minds, particularly the brand marketeers. These guys are incredible. They've been doing it successfully for a very long time. If you were starting out, if you could put yourself back in the early days when you were very first doing this, if you're talking to someone who's really just starting to think about doing this and embarking on an entertainment journey, what would your advice, that's a loaded question, but what would your advice be? What kind of watch outs, what challenges have you encountered? How would you advise someone in that position?
Am I starting?
Yeah, go on.
All right. Actually, the first thing I would say is, what are you trying to do? Why are you doing it? So for us, it was about the fact that we want to reach every consumer. And in order to reach every consumer, we need to tell unique and specific stories that are relevant to them. That was really important to us. How do we do that? We can do that in our advertising. We can do that in how we think about our products and the jobs to be done for our products. But we can also do it in stories that matter. So that was our reason, is like, how do we help create interesting moments, cultural connections, where our brands can be part of conversations that normally they might not have a reason to be a part of? And how could our brands have a talent connection that they wouldn't normally have? I'll give one more example.
Please.
We have a movie coming out in theaters in October called Empire Waste. It's a young adult fiction. It's a coming-of-age story about a group of young teens in high school. It's a amazing, uplifting story of positive hope and really understanding how to love who you are. Well, Venus has a campaign called My Skin, My Way. It fit very well with what Venus wanted to do. But when the director, Claire Ayub, came to us and said, I want to build a confidence curriculum. So it's not just about the movie. It's like, how do we reach young ladies and young women who we know struggle with confidence at those critical ages around puberty? So she helped design us an educational series, six 3 or 4 minute, with the specialists, with the actors, with the talent, with the folks on the screen, to talk about how do I see myself, to talk about bullying, to talk about self-confidence. So it's a lovely series that came out of the film, was a part of the film, and just creates another way to tell interesting stories to consumers who we want to talk to and reach.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And I suppose, as you say, from a brand perspective, the important thing when you're embarking on this is sort of asking yourself the right questions to start with. But I guess from the other side, I mean, Greg or Geneva, from the producer's side, what would you say would be the sort of the watch outs when you're embarking on these kind of projects with brands specifically?
The watch outs or
the challenges that you might encounter.
Well, I think it's being really intentional and starting from sort of the objective, right? And then working backwards. What does success look like? A lot of times brands are approached by producers or production companies for money with a pitch of, I know your brand and I'm going to tell you why you should do this. And I think it has to start from the brand. And part of the reason I joined Dentsu is to be in an ecosystem where I can work with really smart marketers, really smart advertisers, to make sure that the stories we're telling are authentic and actually have a KPI attached to it so that we know what the expectations are. Otherwise, everyone's setting themselves up for, disappointment. And so I think it's about intentionality, and I think it's about looking forward before you start. And the biggest watch out is the excitement. It's wonderful, and entertainment's exciting. It's great, and everybody's so happy in the beginning of a project. But making sure that you're aligned in where the project's going, who it's reaching, how it's reaching, and being really nuanced in making sure that that brand message or mission is achieved, right, through that entertainment and around that entertainment. Because it's not just a piece of singular content. To Kimberly's point, it's that entire conversation, owning it and doing it in a way that's so authentic that it serves the entertainment purpose that you set out to serve.
I have to give one more watch out. Sorry, Greg, and then I'll show to you. Don't tie this to an initiative. Okay? Timelines in this industry
I'm glad
are crazy.
you said that. I'm glad
they're crazy.
I wasn't going to say it.
It's not going to go on the time you think it is. And so that's one of the biggest challenges our brands have is what calendar year, fiscal year, budget does this go in? Because I will tell you, they often shift and slide. Yeah. So being able to create that flexibility and that understanding, the whole accounting of bringing money back in is like new for many companies. Like we don't do that all the time. So sorry, there is a little bit of the blocking and tackling and understanding where some of these issues are. I could tell you many stories about these, but there are some like understanding what you're going into and how you're going to have to manage it within your ecosystem that doesn't operate in the same way that your business ecosystem is going to operate. Sorry, Greg.
I'm so glad you said that.
I'd say something I've learned actually from you. Know your history. There's no dirty word here. Brands and entertainment, it works, right? It just works. It always has worked. In fact, if you go back before we can even remember, it's always been part of this thing. So, but what I would say is you have to want to create something beautiful. And where this gets hard is if you know the word clunky, people go, oh, I've got this clunky idea, and that will never work. It's called entertainment. People have to be entertained by it. So actually, from a brand side of things, what I would say is, like the application of creativity is more necessary here than you would believe, because even the best entertainment gets boring over time, Series 6, etc. So what I love is working on both sides of this. I'm a brand guy, very proud of it, but to actually work with the creatives on the other side of this and find out there is a space between us, linkages, it kind of opens up enormous possibility. But you've got to look to create something very special, and then it'll work.
And I would say I'm not allowed to have an opinion because I'm just the moderator. But I would say I think it's about collaboration. And we've got 3 of the most amazing collaborators who've come together, made something beautiful. There's whole teams of people working on this too, but it's an incredible project. We're going to be here after this. If anybody wants to talk to Greg or Kimberly, Geneva or myself about opportunities and how to do this, we'd be more than willing to speak to you. But yeah, I think we're going to have to wrap it up. So thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.